All right, hello everybody. This is part two of The Ghost Comes to Blackbeard. So let's get to it. The two men lashed into silence, watching a puny sun struggle to rise. The captain thought of his forays, the length of the Atlantic coast, grasping his coarse beard. He rubbed it between his fingers in frustration. He couldn't remember when he had not thrilled to the chase, to the raising of the black flag, to the commands to keep firing until the other ship was crippled, and then the order to throw the grappling iron over the side of a brigantine so his crew could climb swiftly aboard her. Blackbeard thrived on excitement, the smell of gun smoke, the shouts and screams of battle, and the harsh metallic clatter of blades and fierce hand-to-hand fighting. He knew that his infernal appearance, the wreath of tiny flames that encircled his face from the lightened splinters of wood, stuck in the tips of the braids of his immense black beard, and the coils of smoke surrounding his head, was a terrifying spectacle to his enemies. From the first days of his career, he had been a master at melodrama. When a vessel surrendered, a rowdy, exultant cheer burst from the adventurer's crew as their victim's white flag was hoisted. Blackbeard quickly inspected the passengers for valuables, then began the transfer of prisoners and cargo. If the captured sloop was a fast one and he fancied the vessel, he kept it. If it was slow, he sank it. I could see that happening, but anyway, they want to outrun the British authorities or any other authorities anyway. The adventure surgeon bound the wounds of his men, and the able-bodied seamen set about swabbing down the slippery, bloody decks. The white heat that consumed them in battle gradually faded to be replaced by an almost sensual pleasure. With iron bar in hand, he smashed open barrels. It didn't matter to him that the blood of the other ship's crewmen streaked his clothes or that he had received cuts himself. He was oblivious to this as he pried up boxes, open chests with them, and examined diamonds, gold coins, jewelry, and fine silks. By the time his crew had hauled up all the cargo from the hold of a plundered ship, the open crates, stove, and barrels and goods strewn everywhere made the deck of the Adventure look and smell like a floating Eastern marketplace. Today he shook his massive bearded head in frustration. Could a leopard change his spots? No more than a man. What was he, Blackbeard, living in Bath, 50 miles from the coast, instead of spending his days on the high seas, where he could find adventure, not his girl wife, Mary Ormond, nor any other wife he had kept him away long from his beloved mistress, the sea. Meanwhile, the governor of Virginia was taking a serious interest in Blackbeard's presence off the North Carolina Outer Banks. Alexander Spotswood had convinced himself that there was an imminent danger of Blackbeard leading a pirate invasion of Virginia. A less admirable reason for Spotswood's interest in the former pirate was his belief that Blackbeard possessed a vast treasure of gold, silver, and jewels, and that the man who captured him, including the governor himself, would share the loot. Man, I wished I had some gold, but anyway. Spotswood rented 2 sloops with money out of his own pocket under the command of Lieutenant Robert Maynard and a man named Hyde. The Pearl and the Ranger set out for Roanoke Inlet on the morning of November 21st, the 2 armed vessels arriving at sunset. Elated, Maynard said the masts of the Adventure in the distance beyond the dunes. He would attack the next morning. He knew the pirate captain was unaware of his presence. Maintenance work on the Adventure and social life in Bath, however, had not kept the story of the ghost seaman from Blackbeard's thoughts. Israel Hands had told the captain what he had heard. Some says he was dressed all in black with a face fearsome as the devil himself. The devil? Aye. Tell them they just met me roaming the deck at night, and they didn't know their own captain. Teach laughed uproariously. But captain, others saw horns at the top of his head, and said His face and neck was drenched with blood and a horrid sight. I'll be scared to death if I saw that right there. Rock bellowed Blackbeard in anger. And now, as he leaned angrily against the rail, he heard a sound that shouldn't be there. It was the rhythmic, barely perceptible sound of the dip of oars cutting the water. There was more light now, and he raised a spyglass swiftly. A rowboat was approaching the Adventure, and behind it, in the distance, he saw the outlines of two large sloops. Blackbeard shouted the alert. "When the rowboat comes in range, greet him with a round of shot," Blackbeard bellowed. The crashing thunder of the Adventure's guns reverberated across the water, and the rowboat scurried back to the protection of the sloops. It was then that Blackbeard made his decision. He could have decided to flee, for his crew was small and the odds were heavily against him. But he was never a man to run from a fight. To the first mate's surprise, the pirate suddenly seized the wheel from him and began steering the Adventure straight toward Orcoke, as if to beach her, all the while his cannon maintaining a constant fire. Blackbeard's men looked up from their guns in surprise. Quartermaster Thomas Miller dashed to the helm, seized Blackbeard by the shoulder, and pointed to the ever-nearing land. Blackbeard, holding the wheel in one hand, reached out with the other, and without a word knocked Miller to the deck. By the time the stunned quartermaster scrambled to his feet, he had divined Blackbeard's plan. Blackbeard, a master navigator in his home waters, had no intention of beaching his ship. He was steering the Adventure into a small uncharted channel with a sandbar that would separate the vessel from the two slopes. Within minutes, the pursuing Ranger and the Pearl grounded themselves on the hidden sandbar. Now they were within shouting distance. "Damn you for villains!" Blackbeard roared out at them. "Who are you, and where did you come from?" "You could see by our flag we aren't pirates," retorted Maynard. They then came closer. "Sent your boat on board so that I could see who you are," demanded Blackbeard. "I can spare my boat, but I'll come aboard you with my sloop," Maynard called back. Blackbeard felt a surge of excitement. The enemy was going to try to board the Adventure by force. At the same time, he knew the sloops had more than twice the number of men he had, but he would fight. "Damnation seize my soul if I give you any mercy or take any from you," he bellowed across the water at Maynard. Then, raising a bowl of rum, he tipped back his head and drank roaring when he drunk his fill. "To the battle! I expect no quarter from you, nor shall I give any," shouted Maynard. Taking advantage of the minutes before the two English sloops could dislodge themselves from the sandbar, Blackbeard ordered his gunner, Phil Morton, to train the Adventure's cannons in a broadside on their attackers. Blackbeard signaled, and his 8 cannons fired, leaving smoke hanging in the air. When the powerful guns fired, the force of the explosion jammed the Adventure back into the shoreline, grounding her, but the pirates quickly refloated her. The cannon fired killed 29 men outright on the 2 royal sloops. High Captain of the Pearl was dead, and Lieutenant Maynard's 2nd and 3rd officers were killed or badly wounded. With his one mighty volley, Blackbeard had cut Maynard's forces by half. The Ranger was now disabled for combat. The small crew of pirates wholly cast grappling irons over the rail of the Pearl. Blackbeard had his own surprise. Ready for the Royal Navy. Hand grenades made from bottles filled with shot and fuses. He had used them before and then created havoc on deck. Within minutes, the British sloop Pearl was almost obscured by billowing smoke, and most of the crew appeared to be lying upon the deck. "Board her and cut them to pieces," Blackbeard ordered exultantly. But in desperation, Maynard had used an old trick of sea warfare, having men remain below until he gave them the signal to come up. To the pirates' surprise, men's weapons in hand poured from the hold to meet them. Quickly realizing what had happened, Blackbeard shouted encouragement to his crew. There had been no time for the men on the sloop to remove the men killed by the pirate ship's first volley. In the living battle on the deck, hand-to-hand combat among the bodies of the deck. In the mist, Blackbeard wielded his great cutlass, cutting down men on every side of him. He had always swore he would never be taken alive, and now he fought with the ferocity and courage of a lion. At the height of the conflict, Blackbeard and Maynard met face to face. Each pulled a pistol and fired. Blackbeard rushed from all sides by Maynard's men, missed, but Maynard's bullet tore through the pirate's massive body. The pirate captain ignored it and battled ferociously on. Now only a few feet apart, they used their swords. Blackbeard delivered such a powerful blow that his cutlass blade slashed Maynard's sword off at the hilt. That was one powerful blow. But anyway, Maynard hurled the hilt wildly back at Blackbeard, but was forced to withdraw and cock his pistol. Seizing his advantage, Blackbeard lunged toward him for the kill. He whipped the blade of his cutlass high to gain the momentum for a mighty slash down through Maynard's body. But while the cutlass was still appraised, a British seaman came up from behind and struck a blow that opened an enormous wound in his neck and throat. The seaman's thrust saved Maynard's life, for it delayed the movement of the pirate's cutlass, making it glide through the air before him almost in slow motion. And it was then that Blackbeard saw a hideous sight. For the first time, his men saw an expression of fear on his face. Reflected upon the gleaming metal was a huge head. It was the Countess Countenance of a hideous monster with peaked brows, the hair all matted and dripping blood that hangs suspended before him. The features were contorted with fury, and eyes glared with a rage like the fires of hell. Later, they said Blackbeard had finally recognized the extra crewman seen on the last voyage of the Venture, and it was the devil. Like I said, you see something like that, there's no way you can outrun it. But anyway, Lieutenant Maynard arrived at Bathtown after the battle with the head of Blackbeard hanging from his sloop's bowsprit. The pirate captain had died with the courage of a lion after taking 5 pistol shots in his body and receiving 20 several knife cuts. Here was the end of that courageous brute who might have been a hero. He had been fighting for a good cause, wrote a historian afterward. All right. Like I said, if you saw a creature like that and you know it's the devil, you must have did something bad in your life. But anyway, there's no way you can escape him. But anyway, that's it of this book for now. But I'm sorry that was long. I had to do 2 parts. But anyway, that's going to be it for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.